Yo, what's good? Last year at this time, Joshua was getting ready to face his biggest challenge of his career, Wladimir Klitschko, in what turned out to be the 2017 fight of the year and his defining moment of his career so far. I think if he were to beat Wilder, that'd be the defining moment of his career because he'd become undisputed, and very few fighters have ever done that. Only one person has done that in the last decade, Terrence Crawford, and you got a cruiserweight fight getting lined up for another undisputed champion. So hopefully that won't become as rare anymore, but it'll still be a defining fight in most people's career. But a year ago, when Joshua defeated Klitschko, he didn't look indestructible. He definitely looked vulnerable, but he you really couldn't argue, didn't have much of an argument that he was the best heavyweight fighter in the world and that he was the king at heavyweight. And he's still the king at heavyweight right now. But there's a lot of, how could I say this? It's not as clear and defined anymore. He struggled with Carlos Takam and Joseph Parker. And at this time last year, Wilder had just beaten Gerald Washington, and he completely demolished Bermain Stavern after that. But I think there's a shift since this time last year and the shift to now. And I believe it's that Luis Ortiz fight. Where yes, Wilder had looked vulnerable before. He had lost plenty of rounds before, but the difference between that and the Luis Ortiz fight, it kind of seemed that in the Gerald Washington fight, let's say in the Duhaupas fight, in the Spilka fight, that though he was losing, that he was never really in danger of losing the fight. Yes, because of his explosive power, but it never really seemed in those fights that he was gonna lose. In the Luis Ortiz fight, you had that this is the best fighter he ever faced in his career, no doubt about it. But he proved that he had power. Before you could say, yeah, he had 37 straight knockouts or something insane like that. But against who? And up to that point, you still had, yeah, he beat Bermain Stavern, but Stavern was fat, out of shape. I said that was an embarrassment for boxing. That fight was, it was so embarrassing that it's a shame that it was for the heavyweight title. A lot of the guys that are under Wilder's title defenses. He has 7 title defenses, but I'll name them off right now: Eric Molina, Duhapa, Spilka, Ariola, Gerald Washington, Bermain Stavern, Luis Ortiz. Only 2, 3 of those really deserved a shot at the title. I mean, it's a damn shame to say that Eric Molina and Bermain Stavern at that point fought for a world title. But to the point I was going to earlier, it's it appeared that Luis Ortiz actually had a shot in the fight. He hurt him. He legitimately hurt him, and it looked like he was gonna finish him after that 7th round. The doctor had to take a look at him. A lot of people believe, including myself, that the doctor saved him at the start of the 8th round, but he proved that he could come back against a technically superior fighter. And Joshua has looked vulnerable in his last 3 fights, something that we didn't really see in his first 18 fights besides a Dillian White. And yes, he was hurt in the Dillian White fight, but he came back to knock this guy out. There weren't like consecutive rounds, really, in his first 17, 18 fights that he lost rounds. Some people thought he lost to Parker. He's gone 11 rounds. Yeah, 11, 10, and 12 rounds in his last 13 fights. Definitely has looked vulnerable. There are more and more people that believe that Deontay Wilder could beat Anthony Joshua, including myself. I would still say that Joshua's a favorite, but this shift is very reasonable because he proved in that Luis Ortiz fight that he's for real, that his power is for real, and Luis Ortiz has power too. Luis Ortiz has technique too. I would say superior technique to Anthony Joshua. Maybe a little less power, maybe equal power, but Luis Ortiz has power too. And he couldn't stop Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder can beat elite heavyweights. So can Joshua. But that's why he's a favorite. Joshua's a star. But don't get it mistaken. Deontay Wilder is the real deal. And Deontay Wilder has a real shot to beat anyone in the heavyweight division. He has that one hitter quitter eraser. And we found out that he's a resilient bastard. And we also know from the first Stavern fight that he could box if he applies himself. If he could be disciplined for 12 rounds if he really applies himself. And Joshua could be hurt. He's been dropped. And he could be outboxed. He takes rounds off. So does Wilder. But this fight, it's not clear and dry as it was this time last year. And I really think that Wilder could knock Joshua's head off. I still think that Joshua beats him. But if this fight's made by December or April next year, sometime May, April, I don't know who wins. But that's why this fight has to be made. It must be made. The heavyweight undisputed championship. Let's get it. Thanks everybody for watching. What do you guys think about this situation? Peace.